Now, are you guys still awake? Yeah. Last slammer of tonight, put your hands together for Anna Lange. Anna has a background in mathematics with psychology and computational neurosciences. She's now at the Humboldt University, where her current research for the cluster Science of Intelligence evolves around enhancing adaptive learning and teaching strategies in robots during social interactions. The title of her talk is A Hitchhiker's Guide to Social Robots. Clock is ticking, stage is yours. Big applause for Anna.
So in a not too distant future, imagine this. You stumble into a hospital emergency room with a broken arm because quite naturally you tried saving your house from being torn down by a yellow bulldozer. And as you clutch that arm in pain, a cheerful robot rolls up to you, chirping, "Hello there, how can I help you today?" Sounds bizarre, right? But I know this not to be too far-fetched because Charité is currently running a pilot project into social robots for emergency services, and it's actually in the current Spiegel edition. So social robots that are designed to interact with us in a human-like way, are actually popping up in places all around us, like restaurants and museums. And as these plastic pals are getting ready to become part of our lives, I'm here today to provide you with the Hitchhiker's Guide to Social Robots, featuring almost entirely my own research, because that's all I'm allowed to talk about. So you might have already encountered a social robot here in Berlin. Pepper, the robot that I work with in most of my studies, welcomes you to the Futorium. And Pepper is actually a pretty cool robot. It has 20 degrees of freedom, allowing it to perform all of these movements that look almost, but not quite, entirely unlike our own. It can also recognize faces and emotions, but despite all of these features, interactions with Pepper can leave an impersonal feeling. So I'm Anna, I'm a PhD student in robotics, and I'm trying to improve some of these social abilities of robots. And more specifically, I try to improve the ways that robots learn by being inspired by the adaptive way that humans learn from and teach each other. There's one problem with this, and that's that we don't really understand how humans do that yet, which makes reaching this goal in my 3-year PhD almost infinitely improbable. But you have to start somewhere, and in the project I work in, we take a simple 3-step approach. And the first step is that we look at how humans teach. So, for example, how much help a teacher provides to a student depending on their previous knowledge or the specific learning situation. And then we transfer this behavior to the robot and make them interact with human learners. And we look at what happens. Does the learning of the human change? Is it similar to the way we learn from humans? And at this point, I just want to say we are interested in the learning dynamics, like in the social behavior here. We're not trying to replace teachers with robots. But I think we can all think of that one teacher that we would have quite liked to replace with a robot. And for me, that's Mr. Smith, and I remember the 5 in French. Yeah. But moving on, in the second study, we're going to switch the roles. And we're going to make the robot the learner and the human the teacher. And what's nice about this process is that we have some information from our first study. We already have seen a human learn, and we can be inspired by some of the learning behaviors we've seen there. And then again, we make this robot interact with human teachers, and we want to look at how the human teacher responds to this. Does he maybe, is it the same as with humans, or is it different? And where it gets really interesting for me, because I'm a nerd and I'm a roboticist, is actually in the third step of the process. Because there, we're going to make 2 robots interact with each other. So a robot teaching another robot. And why this is really cool for me is that I can do anything I want. So for example, I can say, okay, I'm going to make a teacher that provides a lot of help, but actually make it interact with a student that's pretty independent, tries out lots of stuff, and is really explorative. And then maybe the help is not so helpful anymore, but actually disruptive. But at the same time, I can try anything else. So I can try stuff that we already know from human experiments, or I might, and therefore like giving support to that, or I could try completely different things, and therefore maybe find some hypothesis for social learning that we can't find with humans. So in the end, at some point, I hope that my research will lead to robots learning a little bit more adaptively, similar to us humans. But for now, this is already the end of my talk. And because this was a very brief overview over my research, so in case any of you are left with any questions or feel like anything isn't clear, don't panic. You can come find me later on in the bar and ask any questions you would like to ask. And in fact, I'd be really happy about that, because this is the first time I've been out this week, because I'm a roboticist, and normally I spend my time with robots. So, right. The last thing I want to say is maybe computers, or in my case robots, won't actually answer the question to life, the universe, and everything, but they might just help understand ourselves a little bit better. Thank you.